Good morning, everyone. So Vladimir Putin has come out and he has thrown down the gauntlet. He has started to put threats down on the West, and all these threats are in regards to the Kursk nuclear power station. Now, guys, for those of you who don't have a military background, who don't understand, fighting in built-up areas, fighting in towns, in cities, these when you have to go and fight in a built-up area, the amount of manpower that you need to invest is absolutely phenomenal. Just picture the scene now, okay? Picture the rolling countryside scene. You're fighting a 2D war. You've got guys over there on that hill. You've got guys over there on that hill. Your guys are here. Everything's on the same plane. As soon as you go into a town, into a city with big buildings, high rises, sewage works, tunnels, you're literally fighting like a 3D battle space. Think of these big tower blocks. To take one of these big tower blocks correct, you would need to go floor by floor, room by room, making sure each and every one was clear before you go on to the next one. This takes up a ridiculous amount of manpower. You take huge casualties. It's never done perfectly because you always get somebody behind you. Somebody always makes a mistake. So fighting in built-up areas is really difficult. Now we're going to focus on the war in Ukraine right now and the invasion of Russia as well. What I'm just going to do slightly, guys, is I'm going to switch over to what's happening in Gaza. So remember what I just said, fighting in built-up area is absolutely horrific. Look how the Israelis are dealing with that problem. They are just leveling. Once they've taken a town or a province or a little area, they're bulldozing it. Guys, it's absolutely ridiculous what's happening in Gaza. I can't believe it's happening. I never thought I'd see that in today's world, but that's why they're doing it. That's why they're collapsing these buildings down. That's why they're bulldozing them. So nobody can get behind them. Nobody can use this 3D battle space. They're turning the 3D battle space into literally a 2D battle space. And that's giving them the ability to move on, because nobody can get behind them then. If you've got that advancing line through Gaza or whatever, and every time you advance 500 meters, you just level that place. You turn it to, you put it to ground level. Nobody can get behind you. It's impossible. And that's why, that's what's happening in Gaza. But switching back to Ukraine, I say Ukraine, it's actually Russia we're going to talk about. Well, I'll show you actually. Putin's come out and he's identified the Kursk. I'm sorry, guys. So that's why it's very difficult to go into these big towns, into these big cities. So what you do, rather than invest all your soldiers, all your manpower, all your, well, probably not tanks, but all your fighting vehicles, all your heavy armor, rather than invest all that equipment and risk losing it, the better, easier, more efficient solution is just to surround that town, surround that city, whatever, and turn off their utilities. That's all you do. You turn off their utilities. You say, right, guys, calm down, behave, and I'll turn your utilities back on. The utilities get turned back on. As soon as they start to complain again, the utilities get turned off. That's how you control a town. That's how you control a city. You don't need to go in with huge tanks and manpower and have these big battles. You can just isolate that town, isolate that city, turn off their utilities. That's kind of the best way of doing it. You don't lose any soldiers yourself, and you really do minimize the collateral damage in that town. So that's the best way of doing it. Now, we've seen this historically in different wars in different countries when they do that. And again, think about us in the United Kingdom or the United States, wherever you are. If someone turns off your utilities and then tells you to do something and they'll turn it back on, you will, because 95% of the population are not combatant. 95% of the population are just, well, I'd say more actually, are just peaceful people who want to get by day to day. Once you start going in there heavy, once you start going in there with weapons and causing problems and, there's a kinetic exchange, that's when you turn your 95% peaceful, they start to go to 85%, 75%, and then you turn more into combatants. So anyway, guys, we're going to look at what Vladimir Putin said, I think overnight. So Vladimir sorry, what is the article? We could strike Europe back. Vladimir Putin's chilling new warning as World War III fears explode. Putin suggests that Russia could strike Europe if Ukraine's troops take control of the Kursk nuclear power plant. So I actually think that's what they're going for, guys. You know, when I looked at this, I thought, yeah, that is a huge power plant. And if the Ukrainians can take control of that nuclear power plant, then that would be power to a huge region of Russia. I think they only have 3 of these nuclear power plants this size. Vladimir Putin has once again threatened the use of nuclear weapons after accusing Ukraine of attacking a power plant in the Kursk region. Russia's president accused Ukrainian forces of trying to hit Kursk nuclear power plant after invading the region last month. Now, I don't think they're going to, guys, it makes no sense for the Ukrainians to, or it may do. I think they would try and get in there with their own soldiers and turn this off. Although, you know, nothing's off the cards at the moment. And let's not forget, the Russians have been targeting the Ukrainian power grid. So why wouldn't the Ukrainians target the Russian power grid? Putin can't come out and complain that people are attacking his power grid when he's attacking somebody else's power grid. You know what I mean? Speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum, I'm going to assume the Eastern Economic Forum is the equivalent of the World Economic Forum in Davos, and that's in Vladivostok on Thursday. Putin said, once again, only imagine what will happen if we strike back. What will happen in Europe? The BBC reported last month that Russian forces are bolstering defenses around the Kursk power plant. So the article goes on, guys. There's the Kursk power plant there. The article goes on and it talks about, you know, what would happen if they struck back and all the rest of it. But for those people who are saying, you know, the Ukrainians are going too far, the Ukrainians are doing this, guys, okay, the Ukrainians were attacked, the Ukrainians were invaded, and although this is a bad situation for the world, we can't have a situation where you can invade a country and it's just okay because you say you're going to throw nuclear weapons. It's kind of like, imagine somebody coming into your garden and swinging a chisel around or something, all right? Then you phone in the police and the police going, oh, no, that's just his garden now because he's swinging a chisel around. And you're saying, well, hang on a minute, how's that right? And the police saying, oh, well, yeah, he's got a chisel. And you saying, right, well, I'm going to get my own chisel and I'm going to go and we're going to go and I'm going to go and kick him out. And the police saying, oh, no, you can't do that because he's got a really big chisel. It makes no sense, all right? Laws need to be fractal in the sense that what happens to me in my home, in my family, should upscale to international law. Otherwise, what's the point in having them? We can't have a situation, a global situation, where anyone can have global credibility if we let this happen. So if we let this happen and we let the precedents and we say, yeah, that's just what happens if you're a bigger bully. You can just take people's countries. I'll say, all right, then. Well, I'm going to take some of my neighbour's garden and I'm going to swing chisels around if anyone comes and complains. You see what I mean, guys? It's not right. It shouldn't happen, you know, but that's what's happening. And, you know, if anyone criticises Ukraine for trying to attack the Russian power plants, you know, you've got to understand Russia has been heavily, I'd say for years, identifying, striking the Ukrainian power grid. The Ukrainian power grid at the moment is really, really struggling. You know, they've been hit with a lot of strikes. I think from the time that's elapsed between the Ukrainians moving into Russia and taking regions in Kursk, then and now there've been, guys, I don't know how many. I'd like to say hundreds of strikes on the Ukrainian power grid. So you can see this is what the Russians are aiming at. So just quickly, how significant then is the Kursk nuclear power plant? Kursk nuclear power plant. The plant feeds the grid for Kursk Oblast and 19 other regions. So guys, that is absolutely huge. And I'll put this link in the description. So you've got 19 regions there, including Kursk. As of 2024, the site housed 2 active reactors and 2 decommissioned older units. It also houses the partially built Kursk 5 and Kursk 6 units, which had construction halted, and 2 new VV or WE, I think that's VVER designs. So straight away, guys, this is a huge power plant, you know, and it's supplying a lot of energy to a lot of regions in Russia. So that is one of the things you would do. You would go and, obviously for the Ukrainians, it would make sense if they could capture it, because then they could negotiate. If they destroy it, if it's, you know, ideally they want to capture it. They want to capture it and control that power plant. Once they do that, they can say, right, okay, give us X, Y, and Z, and we'll give you your power plant back. Because I'm guessing these things are relatively expensive to build. So that's where I think they are going, guys. I think they're going to make a push for this power plant. I think best case scenario would be that they, you know, they take it intact, and they can control it, they can operate it, and it can still work. Worst case, second best scenario, sorry, not worst case scenario. Second best scenario is they may actually destroy this power plant. Why wouldn't they do that, guys? Why wouldn't the Ukrainians destroy this power plant? They're in a war with a country, and that country is attacking their power grid. So why wouldn't they? So when Putin comes out there and he says, oh, we're going to attack you with a nuclear missile, you're like, yeah, right, okay, but you can't, you know, guys, this, you know, this is the reality of war. And we the West knew this when we started sending, you know, weapons, ammunitions, and all the rest of it into Ukraine. We knew this was a likelihood. So nobody can, you know, nobody in the West can complain about this, because this is a, you know, this is, I guess this is a, you could say this is a problem that we've all understood and accepted. So that's the situation in Ukraine at the moment. It looks like this could potentially be Putin's final red line. And again, we keep talking about these red lines, don't we? These red lines that are getting crossed. And on the article that I'm going to put in the link in the bio, Sergei Lavrov, he talks about red lines. So is this going to be a red line? I don't know. Is this going to be a target? Is this going to be a concerted effort for the Ukrainians? Absolutely, guys. You know, it makes no sense for the Ukrainians not to try and take control of this. And it also makes no sense. Why wouldn't you? If your enemy is taking out your power grid and their power grid is in your striking range, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It doesn't matter what the threats are. When you're in a boxing match and you're fighting with your opponent, you have to throw your combinations, and you can't worry what they're throwing back at you. You can't hesitate. You just have to throw those combinations. You know, if you get stopped mid-combination and you find yourself on the floor, yeah, it's what happens, all right? That's also, you need to get back up and throw a better combination. So that's how it goes, guys. That's the reality of the situation on the ground in Ukraine. It looks like this could happen. Guys, this could happen in days. It could happen in weeks. Don't forget, as the Ukrainians are pushing in the Kursk region, potentially at this power plant, you've got the Russians further down south pushing in the towards Pokrovsk. Also, I spotted something yesterday, guys, when I was looking at the map. It looks like they're trying to do a pincer movement. Hang on. Let me just see if this is still relevant. I think it is. So let's zoom right. Yeah, right in there. I've gone too far. Right, yeah. So where are we? I'll go back a couple of days. Yeah. Right, I'll share this with you now, guys. It looks like the Russians are trying to do a pincer movement, but I don't know what's in that region. There may be some sort of military base or high concentration of something. So if you look at this area here, guys, you know, I said like a while ago, I said I don't think they're going to go over this road here, because roads and rivers and stuff that are natural choke points. You don't really want to overexploit yourself. So, for example, if it's just open ground here, it makes no sense to overexploit themselves. It just makes no sense. Take control of that road and stay there. Use that as a line of exploitation. So this was from the 26th. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the present day. So if you look here, guys, it looks like they're trying to do a pincer movement coming in from the south here. Coming in from the north down south here. And it looks like here they may be coming out this direction as well. So if you look here, if they control, in fact, that's Pisky, I think. I may be wrong. No, I think Pisky's further there. Right, it doesn't matter. So this region here, whatever's in here, I'm going to suspect that there's a large Ukrainian military something here. Maybe it's a secret base. I don't know. Something here. Because why wouldn't they have just pushed straight across? It looks like they're trying to do a pincer. And again, this is my speculation, my opinion. Looks like they're trying to do a pincer movement. They're trying to, this area here is going to try and meet up with this area or this area. And then once they've done that pincer, they've isolated whatever's in here, and then this area is isolated, it's cut off. They don't really need to worry about it, and they can just let that fall. So let's see how far we are from wow, yeah, so they're making lots of ground towards Pokrovsk. And that, guys, that is on a daily basis. They're moving towards there. Maybe a week, and maybe a week, 10 days, and they're on Pokrovsk already. Obviously, the closer they get, the more resistance there'll be. So that's what's happening in Ukraine, guys. It's getting worse and worse. These things are not de-escalating; they're only escalating. You've got Putin now talking about nuclear weapons. It's always, you get a lot of Russian state media, and they're always waffling about stuff. And I don't really take that much notice on when, you know, Russian state media talk about things. Or sometimes I do, depending on what their angle is. But when Putin says something, he's the big don. You know, he's the big cheese. He's the one in charge. You know, he's been there like what, 20 years or something. The first, you know, I keep saying the first British Prime Minister that Tony Blair dealt with was Tony Blair. I mean, it seems absolutely insane that Vladimir Putin's been in charge that long. Anyway, guys, I'm going to mag to grid. I'll get you guys another video later on today. I'll speak to you soon.